Alright, hello everyone, my name is Bianca Brooks. If you are new to this channel, make sure that you start by giving this video a thumbs up. And if you were the one or two people who saw this review when I was a minute in about 5 minutes ago, sorry about that. I had to restart because there was some stuff in my background and it was really bothering me, and then I was like, you know what, let me just start over again. So we are starting over again. Now, The Intruder. I have some problems with this film. Now, no black woman on the face of the earth is that naive. There is something that is instilled in us that allows us to protect ourselves from danger. It is called the gift of discernment, okay? Now, you're trying to tell me that Annie's spidey senses didn't start tingling? That she did not know that Charles was crazy? That she had to find out that late in the movie that he's crazy? See, something about that just isn't right. It's just not true. Now, you don't get twice to make a first impression, and their first impression of Charlie is that Charlie was crazy. The way he gunned down that deer and everything is kind of like, okay. And he was quite rude, if you ask me, to Michael Ealy. He's like, well, if you can't afford it, you probably shouldn't be here. Okay. Let's continue. So they have a friend named Rachel that is Joseph Sikora's girlfriend, or as you guys know him, Tommy. And she is just, I don't know, part of me just felt like, you know, when Annie asked Rachel how she felt about Charlie, she's like, yeah, I guess he's cute in an older man type of way. I'm like, ew. And I know that there are going to be some pro-black people who are going to be thinking bedwench in the back of their head, but to me, it's just kind of like, just ew all around for me. So, also at the beginning of the movie, something that I did not like is that Mike, aka Tommy, you guys know him as Tommy from Power, he let Scotty know that his wife was throwing him a surprise party. It's supposed to be a surprise party. Why would you tell him about the surprise party if it's a surprise? I can't stand snitches. Alright, so as the movie goes on, there are many things that don't sit well with me. First of all, Scotty is a hardworking man, okay? So much so that he's the one who goes to work. And Megan Good, you know, she stays home and she does write for magazines and stuff like that, but he's the one who makes the money. That's why she's looking at him like, hey babes, I really want this house, and he's looking at her like, well, what house you want me to buy us so that we can live? I like the dynamic of he goes to work and she stays home and always has a fresh meal made for him, and he goes to work to make the bacon and he brings home the bacon so she can cook it. I really like that dynamic. The whole black love thing, I was feeling it. Welcome, Tamari. Welcome, welcome. But there are so many parts of the movie that Annie should have been alarmed. First of all, the fact that Charles was able to just get in onto the property and start up a lawnmower, you should have been more alarmed. But she's like, oh, let's be nice. He's just lonely. He's just this, he's just that. It's not your problem that he's lonely. You need to listen to your husband. And I feel like in a way this movie portrays that black women don't listen, because she wasn't listening to her husband. If your husband is asking a man to stay away from you, you have to make it your duty to stay away from that man as well, okay? But she just kept being welcoming. Oh, he bought wine. And what is that thing called? Foxglove? I don't know if anybody studies botany, but I kept thinking in the back of my head, because they bought a foxglove, I kept thinking that he put foxglove in the wine and that he was going to poison her and kill her, or poison her and rape her. Because remember, they talked about the foxglove at the beginning of the movie, and then I believe he bought it as the plant as well when Michael Ealy came out of the hospital. Annie, what's wrong with your hair? It reminds me of Nia Long's hairstyle in Friday. I didn't like that hairstyle then, and I don't like it now. But Megan Good, you're a good-looking woman, so we're going to let that slide. Now, here's something that just doesn't sit well with me. So, after Dennis Quaid's character, Charlie, runs Scotty off the road. They're in the hospital. You suspect that Charlie is the one who ran you off the road, and you're going to leave your wife in the house by herself. Like, no, it's okay, sweetie, you can go to the house. That's unrealistic. You need to keep your eyes on her, and she needs to keep her eyes on you. Plus, you already have this uneasy feeling about this man. Why are you walking around in the woods? Why are you jogging in the dark? I mean, anybody could have gotten you out there. There are no witnesses. Your neighbor isn't that close to you. But then he tells her to go home by herself. Then he sends his friend Mike, aka Tommy from Power, to go check on her. And then Charles spots him, and then he starts running down the road. And I don't understand why he stopped running, because from the first time that you met Charles, you felt uneasy. You have to trust your instincts, okay? Then, of course, Charles ends up killing Mike, which to me was unnecessary. And the part that never made any sense is that they're looking for Mike. Cell phones have trackers. Mike has his cell phone. Why didn't you guys just track the cell phone? How come the girlfriend Rachel never asked for Mike after he just poof went missing when they lived together? All right. So there are certain things in this movie that just, again, didn't make any sense to me. So you're buying a house from someone and you don't Google them before you buy the house? Because before I buy a house, I want to make sure I'm not buying any Amityville horror kind of house. I want to make sure no crimes were committed in this house. I want to make sure no drug dealers used to live in this house. I mean, with all the technology we have now, he could have easily just Googled all of this. Then, of course, Annie was at home alone one day. She discovers that there's this secret passageway. Why don't you guys have cameras inside the house? Parts of this story didn't make sense to me for you to have cameras outside the house, but you're not going to have cameras inside the house? If I owned a big house, I would have cameras inside the house too, because you have to understand that the house is so big that anybody can get in from any which doorway, window, pet door, anything. Attic, who knows? So that part didn't make sense to me. And also, since this man can afford to pay $3.5 million for a house, he technically paid 3.3. You don't have no maid, no butler, doorman, somebody to watch the property. It just seems very odd to me. You know, typically, I don't know. That just seemed very odd to me, that you find this guy to be creepy, yet you keep leaving your wife alone in that big house, which is, you work in the city and it's all the way in the country. So it must take you at least 2 hours to get there. So it's not like she's close where if she's in danger, you can be there lickety-split. Parts of this movie that just did not make any sense to me. So at the end, Scotty ends up killing Charles, but at so many points in this story, I just felt like this could have easily been prevented. First of all, at one point, Megan Good's character, Annie, had the knife and she stabbed him, but she didn't kill him. We have to make these scary movies a little bit more realistic, okay? We have learned that we can't just believe that the killer is dead. No, you got to make sure that the killer is dead, okay? She should have kept gutting that man. So many questions that I have. Because Charlie also had a son. They never talked about the son in this movie. He talked about his daughter. Oh, he's moving to Florida with his daughter. Of course, we learned that was a lie. And when Michael Ealy, aka Scotty, got in contact with his daughter, at first she was like, don't contact me again. So what I'm trying to figure out is, where's your son? We know you killed your wife, but we're trying to figure out what happened to your son. He was never mentioned. Just some parts of this movie, it's like, oh, okay, whatever. We're just going to skip over that because, you know, there's only so much money in the budget and we have to fast forward to the end. Just like Mike went missing and his girlfriend, you think if I live with somebody 24, even if they didn't live together, you think if I'm with somebody 24 hours, 48 hours goes by, you're missing, I'm not gonna go looking for you. I'm gonna go looking for you. This is odd. You've been missing. Long story short, Annie was being so naive. So naive. And it just was not realistic at all. But I thought it was a decent scary movie. I just feel like scary movies at this point are so predictable. But comment below and let me know what you think. Give this video a thumbs up if it's your first time coming here. I also do interviews with actors, models, directors, writers, dancers, choreographers, authors, you name it. YouTubers, you name it, politicians. So make sure that you guys come back to this channel so that you guys can see some of the cool interviews that I'm doing. I also have a playlist where you guys can select which interviews that you guys want to see.